Okay, your comment thread is amazing and reminded me of something. So when I first started like my belief system deconstruction and working on my self-trust and self-esteem, there were two questions that I asked myself and I did a lot of journaling around. The first question was, why do I believe I have the things that I have, right? Why do I believe I've been able to get the things that I currently have, whether it's a job, relationships, whatever the case may be? And the second question was, why do I believe that other people have the things that I want? And the answers that started to surface when I got under kind of the hood on these questions were so much different than what I expected them to be. On the surface, I thought the answer to question number one would be like, okay, I know I have the things that I have because I worked hard or because of luck or because, I try really hard when I care about things. And then under the surface, I found all these kind of like sneaky subterranean answers to the question that I was not prepared for. I realized that a huge underlying core belief of why I had the things that I had was related to people pleasing, was related to not making other people upset, was related to the fact that I basically made being okay my entire personality, like being this sort of indestructible, always available caricature of productivity. And when I started to think about the second question of why do people have the things that I wish I had or the things that I don't have, I thought the answer would be equally as simple. Oh, because they're in a different stage of life. They were born into a different family than me. They have more access to money or education or whatever. But then underneath that little deconstruction were these like weird, creepy ideas that I didn't even know were just walking around in my brain unsupervised about my sense of worth, that other people were worthy. I realized that I had this fear that even if I got those things into my hands, even if I could get access to those rooms, those things, the trappings of that lifestyle, that I would somehow ruin it, that it would somehow be destroyed or taken away from me. And then the real kicker was realizing that these belief systems were driving my behavior, that I was trying to get things done, trying to get the things that I wanted with this as my toolbox. I believe that people pleasing allows me to keep my relationships and get into the jobs that I want. So I don't believe that I can stop people pleasing and have these things. And that means I also didn't seek places, respond to places, or feel welcome or valid in spaces that didn't require that of me, that didn't ask that of me as the cover charge. When I would encounter people, relationships, opportunities where they didn't seem interested in that particular value that I was bringing, we can just keep using people pleasing as an example, I didn't feel comfortable there. I felt like an imposter. And so what had to unlock for me through many, many years of therapy, through reading, through developing a spiritual practice, is convincing myself with evidence that I could have the things in my life that I wanted, but use other tools to keep them. That I could have the relationships that I currently had and that I aspired to have, that I could have the job that I currently have and aspired to have, and have other things keep it for me. That my sense of integrity, my sense of, felt boundaries, my sense of felt safety could also retain the things that I had come to expect and rely on in my life. And then the other thing that I had to build evidence around to believe and sort of deconstruct my existing narrative with is that I could get the things that I didn't have yet because I was worthy of them. I could get and have the life, the job, the career, the opportunities that I aspired to while retaining a sense of self and dignity, while being in alignment with my values, that was possible. It also meant that a lot of the things that I valued in my life at that time stopped being valuable to me once I started changing some of these metrics around. And the things that I aspired to want, aspired to be, became radically different. I started to want to be in different types of rooms, different types of spaces, have different kinds of relationships, and simultaneously realized a lot of the relationships that I was working so hard with my current toolkit of, people pleasing and constant okayness and hypervigilance, all that stuff. I was doing all this work and using all this energy to keep stuff that I didn't really want, and largely to avoid the consequences that I felt of losing them. And I think that fantasy of hold on a little bit longer and you can have it all has almost unalived me at many, many points in my life in very, very different ways. It was only through cultivating a conscious relationship to that grief, a conscious relationship to that loss, that I was able to go, right, so if I set these boundaries, that means I may lose this person. I may lose this opportunity, this job. And in order for me to stay in alignment with my integrity and get the things that I know that I need and want, I have to allow that consequence to play out. I can't keep protecting the other person or the situation from losing me, right? And trying to hang on for that hope of improvement. And I also can't keep holding myself in this sort of developmentally delayed limbo, hoping that magically one day it's going to become the nourishing space that allows me to be my full self. I think it's especially hard with like romantic partners and family, right? It's like, okay, on the surface, I understand that like the boundaries that I want, the level of like nervous system regulation I want, the safety I want, the security I want, the financial abundance I want can't exist if I have my mom in my life or, this partner in my life. But the idea of having to give that up, to not give it that college try, to not turn around that corner and start to see the sun come up on the horizon line is just so terrifying. To lean into that unknown and to realize that you can't have all the things that you love, all the things that you've invested your time in, and be healthy and be sane. That there is a sort of a cost of entry, if you will, to that process, to that way of becoming. I still struggle with it. But I really loved these comments, and it gave me a lot to think about in general.